attention. My name is Dr. Ayo Etim. I am your seminar moderator. I feel that this way is better because it affords us the comfort to interact even from vast distances. So, if you are writing seminar is straightforward and very simple. After this class, after this briefing, you are to send in your outline, but you have to drop your approved topic first of all, because I will need to use that to verify that you're writing please mute yourself, that you're writing the seminar on the topic approved by the department. That's why you need to drop your signed topics. So you send in your outline. I've already sent the format for the outline to the group, so you use that to modify your outline and send. You send all communications to my email. I'm dropping the email now. Okay, I've dropped the email ayoetim29@gmail.com. So send it as an email attachment using MS Word document. Send your outline as an email attachment using MS Word, Microsoft Word document format. Please. That's the only way it will be accepted. And of course, even if you don't know how to do this thing, this is an opportunity for you to learn, because the world has changed. The world has changed. Today, people stay in Nigeria and work in the United States of America. They don't need to travel there. They work and collect money in dollars. So you need to do everything to know how to use the phone, your laptop, the internet, have some tech skills. So as I've said now, you need to know how to send email, write emails, and all of that. So it's an opportunity for you to learn. We'll meet once in a while, but mostly it is better this way. When your outline is ready, you send it to my mail. I'll read and approve it and send to you. Everything will be documented in that mail. All the communications will remain there forever and forever. In case there was a problem, we can check and verify what happened to your supervision. So once your outline is approved, you will write the seminar paper from the beginning to the end based on that outline, and then you submit the complete paper for assessment before you can submit to the department. That's how it works. So take note of that. I'm moving on to the project students now. I'm moving on to the project students now. So for the project student, the next step after this briefing is research proposal writing. Research proposal writing. So it is important that you submit research proposal for your project, because the research proposal is the blueprint for writing a good project. The research proposal allows you to have an idea of what your project will look like right from the beginning. The research proposal allows you to see the end of the project from the beginning. So it's very important that you write a good research proposal. I have sent you a copy of the the copy of the proposal that I have, and which I hope should guide you in writing the research proposal. But I will still take you through the rubric of writing a good research proposal. Now, to start with, you need to know that the research project is very important because, number one, it tests your ability to carry out independent research as a student in the Department of English, because after now you mostly be on your own. So while you are writing the research project, you can pick up a number of life skills and life principles. For instance, independence, the ability to think for yourself. Please mute yourself so they can listen to me. So you should be able to think for yourself, have independent thinking, should be able to do things for yourself, because after now, most of you will leave home, you'll be on your own. You need to take decisions that are right for you. Writing this project can subconsciously teach you those things. And then writing the project also prepares you for independent research after your first degree. Some of you might want to come back for masters and PhDs. At that point, you mostly be on your own. There's little or nothing the lecturer will do for you again, except to supervise you and advise you. So I would advise that you do this project on your own so that you can learn those skills. If we discover that your project was written by someone else, you will fail. So you should do the work yourself. And one way of discovering if you wrote the project yourself is when we ask you questions about the project. Right? So it is better you write the project yourself. Be an independent lady. Be an independent guy right now. Then the project has 6 credit loads, and that means that if you have a low grade in it, it can affect your final grade. So you want to ensure that you do a good job. You want to ensure that you do a good job so that you can have a good score, both for your seminar and for your project. It's that important. So always give it your best. Give it your best so that at the end of the day, you score very high. Then let us talk about the research proposal. Another thing that you need to note about the research proposal is the issue of plagiarism. The issue of plagiarism. I'll still repeat it, but let me say it. You need to write a research project that is original to you. If you quote someone, you need to acknowledge the source. If you use someone's information, you need to acknowledge the owner of the information. You cannot present to us a work that someone else wrote. That will lead to a fail grade when we find out. So all these things are necessary. All these things I'm saying are necessary because you need to pass, and I'm helping you to pass by giving you these pieces of advice. These are the things that will help you go sail through smoothly as far as your final year project is concerned. So the project usually begins with reading around the area of the research, generating a topic, and submitting the topics for approval. That's where we are now. After the approval of the topic, we need to do research proposal. Now, if you have your guidelines, you will see where we have the heading, the research proposal. If you have studied that document, you will see where we have the heading, research proposal. Now, that is where the research proposal starts. That's where the research proposal starts. And from that point on, we are giving you guidelines on how to write a good research proposal. So, if you are there, if you are where we have, if you have opened your research guidelines, the one I sent is on the platform, and you are there, or you have already read it, then you will follow some of the things that I'm saying. For instance, the first sentence says, the research proposal acts as a blueprint for the research. It is difficult to undertake an effective and successful research without writing a good research proposal. A well-written proposal allows both the students and the supervisor to see the end of the research from the beginning. Because when you bring your research proposal, I will look at it and I'll check whether the research is successful already. We can know whether your research is successful already based on the proposal that you have written. If your research is not going to be successful based on the research proposal, I will tell you so that you won't even start. Because you can, if you write a research on the wrong research proposal, then you are just going on a journey, taking the wrong road. But if you have a good research proposal, as long as you follow that research proposal, your research is going to succeed at the end of the day. And that's why you need to put in time to write a good research proposal instead of rushing to write chapter 1. Because the research proposal is different from chapter 1. The research proposal is different from chapter 1. All right? So take note of that. They have some similarities, but basically the research proposal is different from chapter 1. So in the research proposal, the candidate explains what the research is all about, how it will be carried out, the duration of the research, the limitations of the research, sponsorship where necessary, and the impact the research will have on the scholarship. One of the main differences between research proposal and chapter 1 is that research proposal is written using future tense. Will. Whereas in chapter 1, you don't use future tense again. You simply use present tense because you're already conducting the research. That is the difference. All right? If you are hearing me, type hi so that I can continue. Or if you are hearing me, type hi so that I can continue. All right, thank you. So the first thing that you have on your research proposal is the cover page. Cover page. Oh, I don't want to see a research proposal that does not have a cover page. Oh, all right. So your research proposal has to have a cover page. Your research proposal has to have a cover page. All right. Just like when you submit your assignment, when that cover page that you have is exactly like that, except that you write the title of your research, and then you write your name, your rate number, and then you write a research proposal submitted to Dr. Yoitim, research supervisor, and all of that. In partial fulfillment of the requirements, and then you write month and date. That is the cover page. If you want sample, I will still drop it later. If you want sample after the class, just type sample. I will send the sample cover for the research proposal. Then the inside is what I'm interested in. The inside is what I'm actually interested in now. So, and that is the main proposal. When you open the cover page, what you have the next is the main research proposal. Now, for that, the first thing that you have there is the title, and that's the title of the research project, that topic that was approved. You write it there. All right? That's where it starts. I don't want to see any other thing. Title. All right? Title. Then after that, the next thing is statement of the problem. The guideline is there. That's the next thing. I don't want to see introduction because this is not chapter 1. Please tell friends and family. I don't want to spend time saying all these things after you still write whatever the ancestors say you should write, or what the village people who don't want you to succeed to write. After the title, the next thing is statement of the problem. Now, the class link, you'll see the voice call link. The person should just click there and join the class. In fact, you see the notification, they join the class. That's just it. The link is there. Just click it and then you hear us speak. Then you mute yourself. Of course, if you don't mute yourself, I will mute you. Statement of the problem. What should you say in the statement of the problem? The statement of the problem should have 2 paragraphs, or should have 2 sections written in just maybe 2 paragraphs or so, depending on how you want to present it. 1 is problem in society, and then problem in research. I don't want you to give the heading. All right, there's no need for the heading. Just write a paragraph that shows problem in society and problem in research based on your topic. All right. Now, problem in society is where you state how the issue you raise in your research affects people in contemporary society and the society that you live in. For instance, if you are writing about patriarchy, you need to your problem statement begins from how patriarchy affects women in society. That shows that your research has a real life relevance. There should be problem first in society, how women are treated in society, and all of that. If it is an environment, then you Once if it is on the Niger Delta environment and pollution, then you can just draw instances of oil pollution or degradation of environment in the Niger Delta. That's problem in society. But you don't need to write it as a heading, problem in society, just a paragraph. Okay, will justify that. But the most important thing is problem in research. That is the most important aspect. Now, problem in research is the gap that exists in research that you want to fill, that the current research intends to fill. That means you have to show what other researchers have done in that area and what you feel is left to be done, or what you feel is yet to be done. Right? That is your problem. So let me give you an instance. The problem does not have to be that something people have never done before. No. The problem could just be that that issue has not been studied in your primary text. It has been studied in other texts, but not in your primary text. Or some aspects of the problem have been studied in your primary text, but some aspects have not been studied. It is the one that has not been studied that you present as the problem. Okay? So it is important that you find out what other researchers have done in the field and what is left to be done, which is what your problem is. That is problem in research. So if you understand that, you type I understand and I move to aims and objectives. If you understand how to write statement of the problem, you type I understand, then I move to aims and objectives. I said that if you are writing statement of the problem, you should have two parts. You can use one paragraph to talk about how that research problem reflects in societal issues or the state of society currently. And then you now move on to maybe the second paragraph. You talk about how the problem reflects in research, meaning what other researchers have failed to do so far in that area, which is what you want to contribute. That's problem in research, the gap that you intend to fill in research. It could even be that not many people have written in that area, because if many people have not written in the area, that is a problem. You said there are some authors that have written on this area, but it is not saturated. So you want to join the conversation. Okay? Or this other people told this line of argument. Me, I want to toe this other line of argument. That is a problem that you want to, that's a gap in research that you want to fill. So that's it. So, as I said, if you are okay with that, we move to aims and objectives of the study. Remember, the proposal is written using will. So, aims and objectives of the study, we need at least 3 aims and objectives, and maximum is 5. Maximum. We need 5 maximum, 3 minimum. Now, the aims and objectives are what you intend to analyze in the main part of the research. That is from your chapter 3. So when you are writing the aim, note that there must be something in that aim that is related to your primary text that you will analyze in chapter 3 and chapter 4. Don't just write whatever comes into your head and say you're writing aims and objectives. Whenever you put down an aim and objective, let it be that you'll be able to analyze it when you get to chapter 3 and chapter 4. So think about it carefully. There are the sub-purposes that will be investigated in the analysis. Very important. So you itemize them. You simply say the aims and objectives of this research will be or are, because you're writing proposal, but you can still say are. Then you itemize them using Roman numerals. 1, to do this, to analyze this, to discuss this. And then let your aim and objective terminate with the primary text. Let your aim and objective end with the primary text. Because whatever purpose you have there is what you will analyze in the primary text. For instance, to discuss the operation of Petrarchy in Chimamanda Adichie's Purple Hibiscus. And at the end of the day, you write comma. It is only the last item that you have a full stop at the end. The first one ends with a comma. The second one ends with a comma. The third one ends with a comma. Until the final one. That's the one that ends with a full stop. Please. That's how to write it. So you can say the aims and objectives of this study are to 1. Investigate the operation of Petrarchy and Chimamanda Adichie's Purple Hibiscus, comma. 2. Excuse me. 2. You now list another thing that you will study in the analysis, including language and style, aspects of language and style, including comparison. You take that into consideration. You will sit down and plan. In my chapter 3, what will I analyze? In my chapter 4, what will I analyze? And then you put all of them into the aims and objectives. And you make sure there are just 5 in number maximum. So that's it. So, for instance, when you are done with the one you analyze, you do in chapter 3, chapter 4 will be to compare the 2 primary texts, to investigate the aspects of language and style in the 2 primary texts. You mentioned them. Another thing that can help you write this is to see previous projects. Previous projects can be got at the library. You cannot embark on a journey if you don't check how others undertook that same journey. So why don't you go to the English section of the library, pick up a good project, and look through how they structured their aims and objectives. And then that will guide you on how to write your own. Now, I am moving on to methodology of the research. Methodology of the research. The candidate should state how the research will be carried out. Methodology of the research states how the research will be carried out. This includes the primary data sources, the strategy for data collection, research instrument to be used, justification of data, and method of data collection. Theoretical framework is part of it. Secondary data sources is part of it. Method of analysis, part of it. So these are the things that you need to include in your methodology. What are your primary texts? How did you select them? Mostly in literature, we select our primary text through purposive or judgmental sampling method. So include that, because that means you read the text and saw that it will be suitable for the topic you want to use for the research you are writing on. So you state your primary data sources, state how you selected them, and state your theoretical framework. State your theoretical framework. State your method of analysis. Okay? You can state the type of research. Our research is literature research, which is an aspect of qualitative research. Our research type is literature research, literary research. Our research type is literary research, which is an aspect of qualitative research. All right, your primary data sources are the novels, the drama text, the poems that you selected for the study. How did you select them? Judgmental and purposive sampling methods. Method of analysis, literary analysis. All right, theoretical framework. This is very important. You must choose the right theoretical framework for your research. Otherwise, the research will fail. If you use a wrong theoretical framework for the research, you write the research to the end and then the research will fail. Which is why you must sit back and ask yourself if the theoretical framework you want to select for the research aligns with the research topic and methodology. For instance, if you're writing on patriarchy, and you now go and choose formalism as your theoretical framework, I can bet you that the research has failed already. If your supervisor does not tell you, or if you don't know at that point that theoretical framework is not correct, you complete writing that research and the research will not fetch any mark, it will fail. So the theoretical framework is very important. So choose the right one. So if you're writing on patriarchy, you would choose feminism or a strand of feminism that aligns with your text. Which is why it is important for you to read very widely in your area. You should know your area very well before you write in it, so that you can navigate the complex theoretical paths and make the right choices to succeed in the research. So choose the right theoretical framework. For instance, if you're writing something on environment in literature, and then you now go and choose postmodernism, I can assure you that your research has failed right from the beginning, because you are supposed to choose ego criticism for your research to succeed. So take note of that. So those are the things that you need to talk about in your methodology of the research. Again, you can check how others did that in the previous project. That could help. Then we move to scope of the study. Scope of the study. If you have the outline, you see that's the next item. So the researcher cannot possibly cover all the aspects of the study given time constraints and resources. You don't have all the money, you don't have all the time in the world to cover all the possible research areas post in your maybe primary data sources, the books you've selected, or your theoretical framework. You can only do what time and money allows you to do. So this is where you state specifically what you focus on. And you can say that there are other areas that you would have loved to focus on, but because of time and resources, you want to only focus on these areas. So you can finish your research on time and leave. Alright? Normally when we do research, you can see other areas that we would have looked at, but that is not our focus. And because that's not our scope, that's not in our scope, we don't bother ourselves. So you have to tell the supervisor what you're looking at specifically. In fact, when you pick up any work of literature, you can study that work of literature from many diverse perspectives. But do you have the time to do it? Do you have the resources to do it? No. So you simply focus on what is in your scope at that moment. So that is what that is all about. Then we move on to the significance of the study. Significance of the study. This is very simple. In fact, this is the simplest. Because significance of the study is what your research will contribute to scholarship at the end of the day. How the next generation of scholars will benefit from the research. What would they benefit from the research? Alright? So your research is definitely going to contribute to knowledge. It could generate more data, more secondary sources for the study of your primary text. You could generate more secondary sources for the area of study. All right, and so on, and so forth. So you state how that research will benefit contemporary scholarship in that discipline, that field. Then theoretical framework. I already talked about theoretical framework when we were talking about methodology. But theoretical framework has its own subsection in the proposal. That is how important it is. It is very important. So this is where you state your theoretical framework and explain in some paragraphs the key areas of that theoretical framework that apply to your research. Because theoretical frameworks are usually wide. For instance, if you are talking about feminism, there are so many strands. You cannot use all of them in one research. So you have to specifically focus on the areas that apply to your research. That is why you need to talk about theoretical framework. So any theoretical framework that you choose, make sure you emphasize the aspects of the theoretical framework that align with your research, not just everything goes. And that's why you need to read the theoretical framework as well before you even tell us what you want to do. So tell us what the theoretical framework is all about. Tell us about the major proponents. Tell us about the major books and publications in the theoretical framework. Then go straight to the area, the aspect of the theoretical framework that relate to your research and explain it. It shouldn't be longer than a page or some paragraphs, and you are done. But the most important thing at this point, because this is proposal, is just for you to choose the correct theoretical framework that will not fail your research at the end of the day. And then finally we have chapter specification. This is very important, chapter specification, because you are going to give us the outline of your research from chapter 1 to chapter 5. You're going to give us the outline of your research from chapter 1 to chapter 5, both with the main headings and the subheadings. So, chapter 1 is usually introduction, and so you will have 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, 1.4, and so on and so forth. So, for instance, in chapter 1, you normally look at introduction, statement of the problem, objectives of the research, scope, and so on and so forth. Theoretical framework, you can talk about the authors, of course. Biodata of the authors can be discussed in chapter 1 as well. So it should be like 1.1, 1.2 to 9. I think that you can accommodate up to 9 items. So because it's just chapter 1, that's why you're using 1.1, 1.2. Everything in that chapter will be 1 point. So when you move to chapter 2, which is review of related literature, it will be 2.1, 2.2, 2.3, 2.4, and so on and so forth. When you move to chapter 3, it will be 3.1, 3.2, and so on and so forth. So, I've already told you that chapter 1 is titled Introduction. Under it, you can have 1.1 statement of the problem, 1.2 objectives of the study, 1.3 scope of research, 1.4 methodology, or in any other order format. Okay, good. Then when you move to chapter 2, you now have review of related literature. Then it starts with 2.1 review of related literature and this. So let me talk to you about chapter 2, which is review of related literature. Review of related literature means reporting on the existing scholarship in the area of research. What other writers have written in the area of research. Okay? Now, you can start by reviewing related literature on the concepts of the research, on the major concepts of the research. For instance, if your research is patriarchy in Things Fall Apart, you can say related literature on patriarchy. That means you want to look at all the scholarship that have been written on patriarchy. It could be in Nigerian literature, it could be in African literature. You could even start from world literature, then African literature, and then Nigerian literature, and just zero it down depending on what type of primary text you are using. You can decide what timeline you want to focus on, because you cannot study all. You can just decide to study contemporary research on the topic. Then after that, you can do related literature on the primary texts. What have other scholars written on the primary text? Like if you're using popular discourse, people must have written things on popular discourse. What are those research? You read those research and report on what they wrote. And as you are reporting, you state how they relate or depart from your current research. All right? You are not just saying this person said this. As you are speaking, you are critiquing what they said. How does it relate to my research? What would my research benefit from this study? How does my research align with this study? How does it depart from this study? You have to say that until you are done. So you can, at the end of the day, you can have like four sections. You can review on 2 concepts. If your research up to 2 concepts, you can review on 2 concepts and then 2 concepts and then 2 primary texts. So you can have 2.1, 2.2, 2.3, and 2.4. Related literature on this, related literature, review of related literature on this, review of related literature on this, and so on and so forth. Then when you get to chapter 3, I'm not saying you're going to conduct the study. I'm simply doing this so that you can do your outline very well. Because in the outline, in this chapter specification, we are just looking for outline. That's the headings and the subheadings for each chapter. That's what you are going to show it, because we will look at it and see how your research will proceed. It's the blueprint. This is where we have the blueprint of how the research will look like from chapter 1 to chapter 5. Okay? Looking at the headings and the subheadings. You don't write anything under the headings. Just the outline. Okay? So that you don't, I'll ask you to submit your proposal in 2 weeks and then I don't see you again because you are trying to write the entire research. No. Just give us the headings and the subheadings for each chapter. Shall you get? Shall you grab? Yeah, so if you grab, you can just type I grab or I get. Then in chapter 3, chapter 3 is where you have the main, where you start the main analysis. The main analysis starts from chapter 3. You have to give it a topic. Some people do repeat the main topic of the research. Then they now have the subheadings, like 3.1. This patriarchy in popular discourse. Oh my God. You can have patriarchy. So, as I said, we stopped at the point when we were talking about chapter specification. All right, so, and as I said, chapter specification is supposed to show the headings and the subheadings from chapter 1 to chapter 5. Okay? And then I have also said that you need to have 5 chapters maximum and 4 chapters minimum. But I encourage you to do 5 chapters. Right? Since you people are great students, alright? Great Nigerian students. So as you are great Nigerian students, it's good for you to do 5 chapters. Alright? Then I'm talking about working bibliography now. And I said that working bibliography are all the sources consulted during the extensive and intensive reading for the research. They may be or may not be used at the end of the research. Not all of them may be used for the research, but we want to be sure that you have enough material to last you for your research, that you not get stuck. So I need 50 entries for your working bibliography. 50. It should cut across books, journal articles, book chapters, internet sources, because these are also your secondary sources. After all, when you are setting your methodology, you mention your primary text. After you mention the secondary sources. All right, books that you read from the library, articles you downloaded online. So these days you cannot say that you don't have materials. Materials are all over the place. All you need to do is to have data, to download the articles and books that you need for your research. And that is the end of the research proposal. It ends with working bibliography. It starts with the title, then you have statement of the problem, aims and objectives of the study, methodology of the research, scope and delimitation of the study, significance of the study, theoretical framework, chapter specification, and working bibliography. Then finally, I have to talk about plagiarism. You have the research guidelines, so you can read all of them. I only talk to you about research proposal because that's what concerns us right now. So, plagiarism is an academic offense, academic crime, where you use someone's work as if it is your own. All right? It is intellectual theft, and it is punishable. If we find out that you use someone's project to submit to us, you will fail. We will fail you, and all your work will be in vain. You might have to come back and do the research project another year. So that's why you need to do your work and make sure it's original and submit. When you quote someone, acknowledge the source. In literature, we use MLA. In language, we use APA. You should know the style sheet by now because you were taught in research methodology. If you don't know, maybe you need to report yourself so that we can take you on an consultancy. This one will be consultancy because it's extra lesson after the main lesson has been taught in research methodology, and you don't know MLA to use for literature or APA to use for language, then consultancy will set in. Sure, you get, you grab. All right. So that will be it for today. For the remaining time, just write down your full name and reg number to show that you have attended this particular class. Please do that quickly. In the next 1 minute or so, everybody should report attendance. Just write present, then you write your name and your registration number. Present, your name and your registration number. Because I'll soon end. When I end, I will lock the group. Nobody will be able to type anything again. Right? Yeah. So, whatever you don't understand after now, you can ask me. I'm always here. You can ask me. I'm always here. Even if you don't understand any of this thing that we've said, you can still ask me. When your proposal is ready, send it to the email that I dropped. The email is there. I'll drop it again after the class. Learn how to use phone, learn how to use smartphone, learn how to use laptop, learn everything about tech now, because the world of work has changed. Your interview might be online interview. You stay here, somebody's calling you from Europe to do interview. You don't need to go there. So, but if you don't know how to use Zoom, you don't know how to use Google Meet, you don't know how to use any of these things, then you have been left behind. So that's why it is good for you to know how to send applications, send documents through email attachments, and know how to use some of these applications, some of these apps on your phones that actually help you connect with people in long distance communication. And you'll be better for it because the world of work you're going out to has changed. Everything is now technology driven. And so I will expect you to send in your proposal within 1 to 2 weeks. Please take time and do it so that you will not have issues. Alright? Present Enyeni Goal Ambo. Johnny Peace Zebulon. So only two persons attended this class. Alright.
But I'm also present. My keyboard is come up.
Write present, your name and your registration number, and type in the section. Type in the group. So I'm done. If there are no questions, we are done. If there are no questions, we are done.
And please, doctor, I don't really understand about the seminar writing. I think you're really deliberating more on the project. I don't really have understanding on the seminar.
The seminar is what you do on your own. The only thing you need to send to me is your outline. The sampler outline has already been sent on the platform. So you do your outline and send to the email that I dropped, okay? Then when your outline is approved, you'll be the one to write the seminar based on the outline. And when you're done, you submit. The seminar is what you do on your own. Nobody will tell you much about it. Okay? So that's it. And the seminar is simple and straightforward. The outline is there. Just give your outline. When the outline is approved, you write it based on the outline and submit when you are done. That's all. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
So any other thing? If there's no other thing, we are done here. If there's no other thing, we are done. I will try and upload the audio version on my YouTube and then forward the link to the group. So have a very beautiful evening.